Hello to all of you. I am Mia Rabe. How even should I begin? I believed I had a grip on all of my family problems, and at 31, I was excelling in my marketing position. However, everything changed when Maria, my younger sister, began organizing her wedding. I was there to assist her in organizing her ideal day, but it quickly became apparent that there would be more work involved than I had anticipated. Everything was surrounded by the shadow of our father, John. He hasn't been the same since his split. He's been having trouble, getting lost in booze, and making bad decisions. His new girlfriend, Julie, is, in my opinion, one of the worst choices. I felt uneasy about her as soon as I met her. Maria turned to face me one day while we were choosing flowers, her fear evident in her words. Liv, with hope in her eyes, do you think Dad will actually show up sober? She questioned. I tried to soothe her by saying, I really hope so. For your sake, I do. In my heart, though, I wasn't convinced that hope would be sufficient. As the wedding day approached, I began to feel more like a referee than a maid of honor, always attempting to maintain order. Paul, my boyfriend, was incredible through it all. He would constantly attempt to soothe me by telling me things like, "Baby, you can't control everything." I know, I would answer, but deep down, I couldn't quit worrying. But if Dad ruins this day for Maria, I'll never forgive him. I had no idea that things would quickly turn much worse. I had coffee with Teresa, my best friend, about a week before the wedding. She has always been the sensible voice in my life, and right now I really needed her. She inquired, giving me a look that told me she already knew something wasn't right. What's really going on with you and Julie? I looked around to be sure someone could hear me as I dropped my voice. Teresa, there's something not quite right about her. The way she clung to Dad so tightly and would constantly whisper things to him. And here's the thing. I heard her discussing a large score over the phone. Teresa's gaze expanded. You think she's scamming him? I'm going to find out, I said, acknowledging that I didn't know. I was struck by something after that chat, and I couldn't let it go. Trying to piece the puzzle together, I spent late nights quietly calling some of Dad's old pals and browsing over social media. The farther I searched, the more it seemed like I was solving a riddle I wasn't sure I wanted to. The day before the wedding, Dad and Julie unexpectedly showed up when Maria and I were doing some last-minute checks of the location. "Daddy." With a shriek, Maria ran to give him a hug. I remained back and observed intently. Julie's eyes were darting all over the place, as if she was calculatingly inspecting everything. But when Dad stumbled and said, "My little girl, all grown up," my heart fell. He was inebriated already. Julie looked at me smugly as they walked away together. "John, darling, let's go check out the bar." Anger shot through me, but I forced myself to control myself for Maria's benefit. Maria turned to face me, tears still in her eyes. "Liv," I stopped her in her tracks. I hugged her and muttered, "Don't worry, sis. It's all about you and Brian tomorrow. Nothing will make things worse." If only I had realized how mistaken I was. As they say, there's never a quiet moment before a big one. Our storm was building and was going to make landfall with the intensity of a Category 7 hurricane. I silently promised myself that I would always look out for Maria's happiness as I stood there hugging her tight. I didn't realize then that I would be battling for so much more than a picture-perfect wedding day. The ceremony was lovely in and of itself. For a split second, the family conflict seemed to go away, and Maria looked stunning. I saw her exchange vows with Brian while standing next to her, and it gave me a brief feeling of optimism. We could make it through this day without any issues. Maybe, just maybe. I wanted so badly for Maria to have one perfect day, But that fragile hope was shattered the moment we walked into the reception. I saw him almost immediately. Dad, standing by the bar, already drunk, with Julie clinging to him like a lifeline. My heart sank. "You okay?" Paul, my boyfriend, whispered as he squeezed my hand, sensing my unease. "I've got to hold it together for Maria," I muttered, forcing a smile. But deep down, I knew it was only a matter of time before something went terribly wrong. As the night wore on, the tension in the room became unbearable. Dad's laughter grew louder, his movements more and more sloppy. Julie's eyes kept scanning the room, a strange gleam in them that made my skin crawl. Something wasn't right, and I could feel it. "Liv, Dad's making a scene," Maria whispered to me, her voice filled with worry. "I'll handle it," I said, trying to sound confident. I walked over to where Dad was attempting a very unsteady Macarena, stumbling and laughing like nothing was wrong. "Dad, let's get some fresh air," I suggested, trying to stay calm. "Nonsense," he slurred. "I'm celebrating my baby girl's big day." He tried to twirl, but nearly fell over. Julie appeared at his side, tightening her grip on his arm. "Leave him alone. He's having fun," she said sharply. "This isn't about fun. It's about showing respect for Maria on her special day," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. Julie's eyes narrowed as she sneered. "You think you're so perfect, don't you? Always trying to control everything." The argument escalated quickly. We moved to a quieter corner of the room, but our voices kept rising with each exchange. "You don't know anything about our family," I spat at her, my patience gone. "I know one thing," she hissed. "Your daddy prefers my company over yours." Something inside me snapped. "Is that before or after you drained him of his money, Julie?" I shot back, my voice trembling with anger. Her face twisted with rage, and before I could react, she lunged at me, grabbing a knife from a nearby dessert table. For a moment, everything seemed to slow down. I saw the blade glint under the reception lights, heard people screaming, and felt my heart pounding in my chest. All I could think was, I've ruined Maria's wedding. But then, out of nowhere, Paul tackled Julie, sending the knife clattering to the floor. Chaos erupted around us. Guests screamed and scattered, chairs were overturned, and the whole scene became a blur of noise and movement. Through the mayhem, all I could focus on was Maria. How had it come to this? I had promised to protect her happiness, but now her wedding day was turning into a nightmare. I saw Maria's horrified face as Brian held her back. Security rushed in quickly, restraining Julie as she screamed obscenities at anyone who came near. It was chaos. I stood there frozen as the police arrived and led Julie away in handcuffs. In that brief moment, I caught a glimpse of Dad. He looked completely lost and broken. That was when I realized things would never be the same again. The days following the wedding were a blur. Between police reports, interviews, and endless sleepless nights, I felt like I was living in a nightmare. Every little sound made me jump, and the image of Julie lunging at me with that knife replayed in my mind over and over. Paul, my rock through all of this, held me close whenever the nightmares hit. "You're safe now, Liv," he whispered, trying to comfort me. But feeling safe seemed impossible. How could I feel safe when my own father's girlfriend had tried to stab me at my sister's wedding? How do you even begin to recover from something like that? Maria, understandably, was a wreck. When I visited her about a week after everything had happened, she couldn't even look at me. "All those months of planning," she said, her voice heavy with sorrow. "And for what? My wedding will always be remembered as the day someone tried to kill my sister." "I'm so sorry," I started, guilt weighing heavily on me. She cut me off, shaking her head. "I know it's not your fault, Liv. But still, I can't help feeling like our family is cursed or something. While Maria was dealing with her pain, Dad was in complete denial. He called me constantly, leaving voicemails that made my blood boil. "Mia, sweetie, let's not blow this out of proportion," you'd say. Julie was just upset. She didn't mean any harm. Hearing him defend her like that after everything she had done was infuriating. The final straw came when he showed up at my apartment, reeking of alcohol. I opened the door to find him swaying slightly, his eyes glassy. "Dad, you need to leave," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "But Pumpkin, we're family. We need to stick together," he slurred, sounding pitiful. I felt something harden inside me as I looked at him. "No, Dad, we're done. I can't do this anymore." The hurt in his eyes almost made me waver, almost. But as I closed the door, I knew it was the right thing to do. Meanwhile, Teresa, my ever-determined best friend, had started digging into Julie's past. What we uncovered left me speechless. "Liv, look at this," Teresa said one night, spreading papers across my coffee table. "Julie's got a record. Assault, fraud, you name it." I scanned the documents, feeling sick to my stomach. How did Dad not know about this? Teresa hesitated, biting her lip. "That's the thing, Liv. I think he did." The truth hit me like a ton of bricks. We found joint bank accounts, suspicious money transfers, evidence that Dad wasn't just a victim in all of this. He was an accomplice. Telling Maria what we discovered was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. We sat together in her kitchen, the wedding gifts still sitting in the corner, untouched. "I can't believe it," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "How could he do this to us? I don't even know him anymore." I didn't have an answer for her. I didn't know who Dad was anymore either. I spoke softly but firmly. "We need to protect ourselves now." Maria looked at me. Her expression shifted to one of determination. "I'm with you, Liv, always," she replied. Despite her words, the guilt weighed heavily on me. I had exposed our father's crimes, and in doing so, I might have destroyed his life. But then again, hadn't he already done that to himself? The mix of anger, confusion, and guilt was too much for me to handle alone, so I decided to seek help. That's how I found myself sitting in a therapist's office, trying to make sense of it all. "Mia, it's normal to feel conflicted." My therapist, Dr. Jacob, reassured me during one of our sessions. "You've been through something traumatic. You're grieving the loss of the father you thought you knew." I stared down at my hands, feeling torn. But shouldn't I hate him after everything he's done? "There's no should when it comes to emotions," she explained kindly. "What's important is that you acknowledge how you feel and work through it." Working through it sounded easy, but it wasn't. Still, as I left Dr. Jacob's office that day, I felt a small glimmer of hope. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Maybe, just maybe, I could rebuild something positive from the ruins of my family's past. For months after the wedding disaster, I found myself in a place I never thought I'd be happy. Despite everything that had happened, I had a strong support system. Maria, Paul, Teresa, and I had become an unbreakable team. Our bond was stronger than ever. One night, while we were having dinner at my apartment, Maria raised her glass. "To new beginnings," she toasted. "And to family, the one we choose," I added, clinking glasses with my sister. The media was all over Julie's trial. It was a circus. Sitting in that courtroom, my stomach was in knots as Julie's true nature was revealed for everyone to see. Dad sat beside me, looking completely stunned as her history of crimes came to light. But the real shock was yet to come. Teresa and I had been working hard gathering evidence of Dad's involvement in Julie's schemes. During the trial, our lawyer stood up and addressed the court. Your Honor, we have documentation proving John Rabe's involvement in Miss Blake's fraudulent activities. As the legal battle continued, my personal life took an unexpected turn for the better. My career started to take off. One Sunday afternoon, my boss called me into his office. "Mia, we're promoting you to Senior Marketing Director," he said with a smile. "Your resilience and creativity this past year have been outstanding." I left his office in a daze, immediately calling Paul to share the news. "Babe, that's incredible. I'm so proud of you," he exclaimed, excitement clear in his voice. Amidst all the chaos, Maria and Brian made a beautiful decision. They decided to renew their vows. This time, it was a small, intimate ceremony in their backyard with only close friends and family. "Second time's the charm," Brian joked, making Maria giggle as they exchanged rings again. Watching them, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. We were finally healing, all of us. Then the day of Julie's sentencing arrived. The courtroom was filled with tension as the judge prepared to deliver the verdict. As I sat there, I reflected on how far we had come since that fateful wedding day. We had been through so much pain and betrayal, but somehow we had made it through. We were stronger, and we were moving forward. It wasn't easy, but we had found our way back to each other. The storm had passed, and we were finally finding calm. Despite my trembling hands, I maintained a calm voice as I got up to make my victim impact statement. I started out by saying the wounds from that night are deep, but they strengthened me. I turned to face Julie, realizing that this was my chance to take back my life. I am here today as a survivor, not a victim. I felt closure when Julie was brought away in handcuffs. It seemed like the conclusion of a protracted and traumatic chapter in my life. But a month later was when the big party took place. I was at my favorite restaurant with Maria, Brian, Paul, Teresa, and us celebrating my promotion and all we had accomplished together. To Mia, with a broad smile, Teresa lifted her drink. "The most resilient person I've met." I had to interrupt her to say, "To all of us." I turned to face those who had supported me during the most trying year of my life, and their looks demonstrated that family is about more than simply blood. It's also about love and commitment. I saw a change in myself as we laughed and told stories. I was struck at how much had changed. The preceding year had been both a horror and, strangely enough, a blessing. It became clear to me who was important. It made me realize how resilient I might be and offered me the guts to rid my life of the poisonous people and negativity. As I sat there, surrounded by true pleasure and love, I realized that this was how my story would finish happily. It was real, which is what made it lovely, even if it wasn't flawless and had scars. I had optimism for the future for the first time in a very long time. I felt thankful for the family I had met and the inner power I had unearthed. That concludes my narrative, but I'd want to know what you think. Given what your father had done, if you had been in my position, would you have continued to set boundaries like I did? Or would you have given him another chance? It's a difficult choice, and I am aware that a lot of you have struggled with poisonous family members. Tell me about your experiences, please. Kindly let us know in the comments how you have managed challenging family dynamics in your personal life. In the event that my story touched you, kindly click the like button and think about subscribing to receive more real-life tales and conversations on resolving challenging family dynamics. I really appreciate your support, which enables me to keep sharing these intimate tales. I appreciate your time, and I hope to see you in the future video.